Everybody, and welcome to the show. Happy Thursday to y'all. I'm excited to be here tonight. Lots happening in the news and really some disturbing things that, frankly, I would prefer that we weren't dealing with ever, but it's just more garbage happening, and it's all happening under the Republicans and Donald Trump, and it's just downright disheartening. Things are not going well in this country, and we've decided that we're going to radiate our flower now, right? The war on Maha is continuing. This administration and the Republicans just do not like Maha, neither do the Democrats. But it's particularly disappointing, right? Because we know that the Democrats hate Maha. We know that the Democrats hate life. They're the party of abortion. They're part of the party of death. But to see the Republican Party betray us so badly after Maha really did deliver the victory. You know, we know from internal polling that Bobby Kennedy brought 9 million votes, over 9 million votes, to Trump's election in 2024. And we know that without Bobby Kennedy and without that Maha vote, that we would have President Kamala Harris. Yet instead of embracing Maha, instead of working to reform Big Pharma and these crooks that we see everywhere, instead of doing that, what we've got is we've got a just this ongoing war against Maha. And it's mind-blowing to me that that this is happening. You would think that the president and his people would recognize that this is not a winning thing. It's not a winning approach to doing things, and yet they continue on that path. So we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Let me show you this. So to open up, I want to open up the show with this. This is remarkable to me. If you guys haven't seen this, this is a female cop in Texas, and I'm going to let this video speak for itself. Let me just start out with this.
That ordinance means like music,
Here
not
it is.
talking. If someone is offended by your talking, then we have a problem.
What?
Like I just said.
Constitutional violation of your rights. If you shut us down,
No, if they are offended by your speech, okay, then I'll write you the ticket and then we'll go from there.
Wait. If they are offended by your speech, she's going to write them a ticket? Is this the Soviet Union?
You're going to take us for offensive speech?
Yes, absolutely.
Are you serious?
Speech.
You're going to cite us for
Yes, it's
offensive
called disorderly
speech?
conduct.
That's
Oh,
no.
Yes, it is.
Disorderly conduct has to be accompanied by conduct.
This is the conduct
I'm
that
a
you're
retired
doing.
police officer myself.
For who?
26 years, federal law enforcement.
So it's federal. So this has nothing to do with local.
No, the federal. The U.S. Constitution doesn't have anything to do with local. Let's listen to this one more time from the beginning. This idiot cop, literally one of the stupidest people I've ever heard on the entire planet. And I support our blue. I mean, I do. I back our cops generally. But this isn't a cop. This is a moron. This is a raging DEI hired idiot who really should not. What? This is in Texas. This is Texas, for God's sakes. Of course, this is what happens when the Republicans govern, because the Republicans are actually just Democrats. They just lie about it. You got Greg Abbott down there. You could have had my guy Pete down there, but instead, good God, let's listen to this.
That ordinance means like music, not talking. If someone is offended by your talking, then we have a problem.
If somebody's offended by your talking, then we have a problem. If somebody is offended by your talking, we have a problem. This is where we are in America, folks. This is where we are. We are no longer a nation of freedom. We are no longer a nation of individual liberties. We have gotten to the point where even our blue are so stupid and so ignorant of the Constitution that now this is an exception, right? Most cops know better. Most cops are better than this. But has this woman been fired? As of this point, I do not believe this woman's been fired. There's a whole bunch more. And interestingly enough, because this is quite viral, this same moron also a number of years ago threatened to ticket these Christian preachers for being unhappy and protesting a gay pride event. Here's and I'm not going to play the whole video, but here's this same moron lecturing these Christian preachers and telling them that they're not allowed to go into a public event. Now, no one was stopping them. No one at the event said they weren't allowed to go there. This cop was stopping them. She proactively stopped them from going to a public event because she was worried about what they might say. This is an absolute outrage, folks. This couldn't be a more blatant violation of the First Amendment. Yet here we are in Texas. Don't mess with Texas, right? The cowboys, the land of the free, the land of the Alamo, right? This is Texas, folks. This is where we are. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do to tell you guys about this. Frankly, if this woman isn't fired immediately or sooner, this is Fort Worth. This is Dallas area, right there at the heart of Texas. This isn't even Houston. I mean, we all know Houston's a cesspool, but this is Fort Worth. Texas, y'all are in trouble. Y'all want to be cowboys. Y'all want to be the home of the Alamo. You want to do. It's time for y'all to speak up, right? Because I'm sorry, Texas is going from red to purple and really approaching blue. I don't know what else to say. Having Republicans doesn't mean you're red. And the crooked Bush, Abbott, leftist lunatics down in Texas are ruining this state on a profound level. So, anyways, before we want to get to a whole bunch of other stuff on the show, before we do. Remember, we need your help. We need your support. GiveSendGo.com/Renzlaw. GiveSendGo.com/Renzlaw. Whatever you can give. Your donations keep us going. They keep us strong. They keep us supported. It's tough doing this. It's tough funding this. It's tough getting support and backing on this. No one wants you telling the truth. We're going to keep telling the truth, even if it does cost us. So please, GiveSendGo.com/Renzlaw. Also, support our sponsors. Go to TomRenz.com, www.TomRenz.com. And you have to type TomRenz.com. You can't actually search it. You'll never find it. But go to TomRenz.com, check shop, partners and affiliates, and of course, start out globalhealing.com/TomRenz. Don't forget them. Men's hormone support, always, always, always. And whatever, all their other fine products. But scroll down. Today, we want to highlight Cardio Miracle. Cardio Miracle, 50 ingredients, all organic, healthy stuff, wonderful stuff. Just an incredible thing. And they help sustain your body's natural production of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide has so many benefits, so many amazing things. Make sure you are checking this out. Cardiomiracle.com/TomRenz. Nitric oxide, by the way, is the same thing that happens with those little blue pills. It keeps your blood pumping. It keeps things working. It keeps things going. Make sure you're checking out Cardiomiracle.com/TomRenz. It is a game-changing supplement. I drink it every day. It is a wonderful thing. Make sure you're checking that out and supporting us by going to Cardiomiracle.com/TomRenz. You can find the link in the show description or comments. All right. I want to get into some other things. Wall Street Apes. Wall Street Apes has been doing a great job keeping an eye on health issues lately. And I've been really kind of impressed. And I was interested. He found this before me, right? So Wall Street Apes finds this today. I see the FDA accepted petition to irradiate raw and rich wheat flour with up to 30 kilogram of ionizing radiation to kill off E. coli, right? And this is a real interesting story. Now, let's talk about wheat, right? So wheat protein is gluten. Now, guys, this is theoretical, right? This isn't. I can't prove this, but have you ever met someone who's gone to Italy and they say, they get back and they say, I don't understand it. In America, when I eat pasta, when I eat bread, when I eat glutens, I get sick. I've got an intolerance. I just don't feel good. It's awful. But I just got back from Italy and I ate all this pasta, all these different things. I didn't gain weight. I didn't feel bad. Everything was fine and everything was good, right? Well, understand something. The wheat and flour production in this country is poisoned from beginning to end. I mean, the whole dang thing. First of all, wheat is almost universally GMO seeds. There's almost no heirloom wheat production in this country. So your flour is by going to be GMO, right? Which means the genetically modified organism that you're eating when you eat that flour is, it's tinkered with. So does that mess with the glutens, the wheat proteins? Well, of course it probably does. I mean, why wouldn't it, right? They're modifying this. Why do they modify it? Well, they modify it in part because they want to spray glyphosate everywhere. They use glyphosate to make sure that there's no weeds in the field so that it doesn't compete with the wheat. The problem is glyphosate's a poison. Between the glyphosate and the GMO, wheat is already, it's just frankly dangerous. That's why your breads, that's why, in my opinion, that is the reason. And there's evidence, it's just not proven, but there's evidence that that's the reason that there's so many gluten issues in this country. You just can't eat our flour. Our flour is so bad, and it's hard to get good flour in this country. Now, if you go to Italy, it's a different thing. And so a lot of people who have gluten intolerance in this country don't have it when they go abroad because Italy doesn't allow them to poison their food in the same way that the U.S. does. This is something that, I mean, like I said, you talk to my friends who are traveling over to Italy or go traveling wherever, and they, yeah, it's fine over there. Come back and I say, well, it's because we have GMO glyphosate poisoned garbage that they call food. It's not safe. This isn't complicated. Now, as if all that's not bad enough, the FDA has accepted a petition, and just in case you don't believe me, let me show you. Here it is. Sterigenics filing a food additive petition, and you can see right here. And if you look at it, you can go down here to the bottom. Under Section 409B5 of the FDA, Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, we are giving notice that we have filed a food additive petition submitted on behalf of Sterigenics by Burdock Group, PO, they give their address. The petition proposes that we amend our food additive regulations in 179.26, ionizing radiation for the treatment of food to provide for the safe use of ionizing radiation for the reduction of pathogens in raw enriched flour at a level not to exceed 30 kilogray. Now, petitioners claim that this action is categorically excluded under this regulation because the granting of this petition would authorize the use of substances as a component of food contact surface, permanent or semi-permanent equipment, or another food additive article intended for repeated use. In addition, petitioners stated that to their knowledge, no extraordinary circumstances exist. If the FDA determines this categorical exclusion applies, neither environmental assessments nor environmental impact statement is required. If FDA determines categorical exclusion does not apply, we request an environmental assessment and make it available for public inspection. So they go on, they ask us. So they're asking for this, and here it is. Here it is in the Federal Register. You can see right here, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing. I'm just showing you. This is what the Federal Register looks like, by the way. The Federal Register is everything. Everything gets published in the Federal Register, and so you can see right here it is. Same thing, not to exceed 30 kilogray. All right. So they want to radiate your food. So I decided to look into this. And I wanted to kind of dig into this a little bit to talk about this. And so I asked how much, I researched, I looked up how much ionizing radiation is safe for humans, right? Because if we're going to radiate our food and it's going to go into the humans, presumably the food's going to absorb some of that radiation, right? At least a little bit. So how much is safe? How much radiated food is safe? And there is actually no actual safe threshold for ionizing radiation. Any exposure carries a small theoretical risk of long-term side effects, cancer. You all know that radiation causes cancer. So there's all sorts of regulatory limits to keep radiation very low. Now, radiation is measured in something, and radiation exposure is measured in something called millisieverts, right? So millisieverts, MSV, right? And they essentially, they account for the radiation type and sensitivity to determine effective dose. And the background radiation that you see in life is about 2.4 millisieverts per year. U.S. average is about 6.2 because we've got a lot of exposure to medical man-made type sources. And they claim that the 6.2 millisieverts per year has not been shown to cause harm. All right. So we look at the regulations, right? And I've got all sorts of stuff on this. So generally, you don't want to have any exposure, but radiation workers, right? Radiation workers are limited to a max of 20 millisieverts per year averaged over a 5-year period, right? So if you're exposed occupationally to radiation, you have a max of 50 millisieverts in any given year, and a total of it has to average over 5 years no more than 20 per year. So if you have 50 in 1 year, then you're going to have quite a bit fewer in the following years, because it's got to average 20 per year over 5 years. Now, if you're pregnant, that's even lower, right? You have only 5 millisieverts per month, and 5 millisieverts over the course of, 0.5 millisieverts per month, and only 5 millisieverts over the course of the entire pregnancy. So you've got a much lower threshold. For people under 18, it's less than 5 millisieverts per year. So the numbers are important. Maybe you don't understand millisieverts. It's okay. You don't need to for what I'm getting at. Now, in terms of health impact, less than 10 to 20 millisieverts, according to University of Michigan and their research, there's no detectable increased risk of cancer for individuals less than 10 to 20 millisieverts per year, right? So basically, environmental exposure, you're probably not going to get cancer from it. Now, if you get to 50 to 100 millisieverts, you have a small increase in lifetime cancer risk, right? They're saying around 0.5 to 1% increase. If you get over 100 millisieverts, it becomes acute. There's a clear increased risk in cancer. You can also get burns and radiation sickness. And if you get much higher than that, you can get very, very severe radiation poisoning. So if you get to like 1,000, you're going to be in real bad shape. So a chest X-ray is about 0.1 millisieverts. A full body CT is about 10 millisieverts. So you can't have too many CT scans a year, but they look at the risk benefit, right? So CT scans are a little bit dangerous. And if you have too many of those, it's a little bit rough, right? Some areas of the world have higher background areas of radiation. You got to have to watch for that. So basically, if you get over 20 millisieverts, it's kind of a dangerous thing. So mind you, the regulatory the petition is asking to radiate our food at 30 kilogray. Now, kilogray is not the same as millisieverts. So, now they're different animals, right? So they aren't directly interchangeable, but you can draw a comparison. And generally speaking, a kilogray is 1,000 grays, right? And that is the measured absorbed dose. So it's how much is absorbed into whatever it's spraying, right? Whereas a millisievert is exposure, right? So generally speaking, what we're looking at here is you can, for most things, for common ionizing radiation, X-rays, gamma rays, electrons, you can do a 1-to-1 gray sievert translation, right? So for example, 1 kilogray equals 1,000 sieverts, or 1 million millisieverts. So 1 kilogray would be 1 million millisieverts. Now, they don't want 1 gray. They want to be able to expose our food to 30 kilogray, which equals 30 million millisieverts, right? Now, what would that do to a person? Well, it would be instantly lethal. If you were exposed to 30 kilogray of radiation, you would be dead immediately. Not over time, not cancer. You just would be immediately dead, not even a little bit alive. So understand, if you get to 0.7 to 0.1 gray, not kilogray, you would have radiation sickness. If you get to 2 to 10, it would be severe, and it would destroy your bone marrow, inflections, bleeding, 50% plus fatality without intensive care immediately. 10 to 20 gray, this is 10 to 20 gray, not kilogray. Kilogray is 1,000 gray. So 10 to 20 gray would be near certain death. Organ failure, you'd die. And if you get to over 50 gray, not kilogray, you'd have immediate collapse, unconsciousness, and death within hours. Okay? That's 50 gray. They want to use 30,000 gray, 30 kilogray on our food. They want 30,000 gray of absorption on our food. This would immediately kill a person in every way, shape, or form. And again, remember, regulatory wise, you can't be exposed to more than 50 in a year, 50 millisieverts, which is a thousandth of a sievert or a thousandth of a gray. So we're talking 30 million millisieverts. Remember, 50 is the regulatory limit in a year. 30 million is instant death, but they want to put 30 million millisieverts of radiation on our wheat, right? Now, let's talk about this. This is a petition, so they're asking the FDA to look at this. Now, the FDA just keeps doing whatever big pharma, big tech, big ag wants. So there's a we just had the president issue an executive order to protect glyphosate, which we know causes cancer. And he ordered his DOJ to fight to protect it, and we got a Supreme Court ruling protecting glyphosate. This president, this administration, they don't like MAHA. I don't know what else to say. I wish it was different, but they're pushing mRNA, they're pushing glyphosate, they're pushing everything else. They've rolled back regulation of PFAS, forever chemicals, which also cause cancer in our drinking water. There's almost no regulation of that. And now they're being asked if we can radiate our wheat with 30 million millisieverts, the equivalent of 30 million millisieverts of radiation, an amount that would kill a person instantly, so much more than you need. Remember, 50 gray, which in this case is roughly equivalent to 50 millisieverts, will cause on a person immediate collapse, unconsciousness, and death within hours. That's 50 gray. They want to put 30 million gray, or 30 million millisieverts worth, and 50 gray, by the way, is I think 50,000 millisieverts. They want to do 30 million. 30 million. Now, in a sane world, this isn't even something anyone would entertain. But we don't live in a sane world. We live in a world where we have an administration that is completely ran, and it doesn't matter. The Democrats are worse, but it doesn't matter. This administration is pushing mRNA, though, despite it causing curable cancer. This administration is pushing more mRNA, despite the fact that there has never been any proven benefit from any mRNA anything. In fact, the more data that comes out, the more we're seeing that mRNA is universally bad, yet we continue to push it. Why? Well, I don't know. The president, I believe, had some stock in Moderna. Just saying, you might want to look into that. But regardless of what's happening here, he's also got a chief of staff who, by the way, seems to love Moderna and Pfizer and Gavi and Bill Gates. I mean, Susie Wiles she just loves these guys. So to suggest that this isn't a risk, that this petition is meaningless, well, that's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? I mean, the administration has shown that it doesn't care about MAHA, it doesn't like MAHA. I mean, it literally did this while we have Bobby Kennedy as Secretary of HHS. Bobby Kennedy led and worked on the lawsuits that prove that glyphosate causes cancer. So just to embarrass him, I guess, or whatever, the administration decides to protect glyphosate. Not to remove it, not to regulate it, not to limit it, not to do anything else. No. They want to protect glyphosate. An executive order saying glyphosate's a national security thing and we need glyphosate. Think about the absurdity of what's happening here, yet I'm supposed to just be okay with what's happening. This is insane. Now, I see in the Twitter comments, someone says Agenda 2030, this is from Mega, How else they plan to reduce the global population to 500 million? It's an all-out assault. We need to take charge immediately. They're so much weaker than we are. Yes, Mega, that's true. That's true. It just appears this is Agenda 2030. Just like all the flock cameras, just like all the data tracking, the track and trace, the real ID, this is Agenda 2030. We elected this administration to drain the swamp, and they're backstroking in it. They love the swamp. Folks, I don't know what to tell you. 30 million millisieverts is enough to kill any person instantly, yet that's what they want to put on our food. They want to expose our food and then put it in your mouth and feed your babies, feed your kids with crap that's been exposed to glyphosate, that's been genetically modified, and then it's exposed to 30 million millisieverts worth of radiation. Guys, if you're okay with this, I don't know what to tell you. You're an idiot. If you are still such a cultist that you don't see a problem with this, you have lost your mind, and you and I just don't see things the same way. At some point, we have to quit making excuses and just recognize this is not right. This is going the wrong way. If Joe Biden had done this, I would have had a stroke. So you want me to pretend I'm okay with it because it's Donald Trump? I am not okay with this. Now, if this regulation goes ahead, which it very well may, we're going to be exposing ourselves and our children to this just absurd. I mean, I got to be honest. I'm gonna buy one of those radiation Geiger counter. I'm gonna get a Geiger counter. I want to check my food and see if it glows. It's insane to me. We've literally lost our mind. I don't even know. All right. Meanwhile, in other great news, the president's back to war with Iran. We've got bombing back and forth. We've got chaos going all over the Middle East. It appears that Iran, we hit Iran, and they respond with missiles and drone attacks, targeting Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Jordan, everywhere they can. They don't care. They're trying to just bring down the Middle East. And of course, the Strait of Hormuz is what it is, right? I mean, with the Strait of Hormuz is just, they're just asking for problems there. So, and the Strait of Hormuz is it's such a small area of water that basically, Iran can launch missiles anywhere they want in that space. It's just not safe in any way, shape, or form. And yet, we're doing this. What's this going to do? All we're going to do is drive oil prices back up, which, by the way, the strategic oil reserves are now so bad and so low because Trump doesn't want us to have $8 gas before midterms. That would go really poorly. The strategic oil reserves are now getting so low that the strategic oil reserves are kept in salt mines. These salt caverns, way down underground. And the salt caverns are getting so low, the oil keeps them in place. The amount of oil is getting so low that we're risking the collapse of these salt caverns. If that happens, we don't have anywhere to put our strategic oil reserve, which means we don't have one. What's that going to do for us? We're at a point where what we're doing is insane. We've lost our mind. And it's great that we did the whole Venezuela thing first. But remember when we were going to end this Iran war, it's going to be 14 days. Remember that at the beginning, like 14 days to flatten the curve. And yet we're in a perpetual war, just like we were in perpetual COVID. Same story. Remember when Trump locked us down for 14 days to flatten the curve? Yeah, Trump did. It was under Trump. Remember when that happened? Folks, this is absurd. How many times are we supposed to look the other way and say, it's okay, it's Donald Trump? It's not okay. I don't care who's doing the wrong thing. As much as I want Trump to be successful in making America great again, he is not doing it. This is insane. Our gas prices are going to explode. We lost the war in Iran. We can't win it. There's no winning this war unless we commit millions of American lives, thousands of dead troops, troops on the ground. It's the only way to win this war. It's very clear. We've bombed the hell out of these guys for how many months now? We've done everything you can do. They don't care. This isn't working, and it's not going to work unless we put boots on the ground. Unless we level Iran and turn it into a bead of glass, it's not going to work. If that's what we're going to do, just get it over with, but end this damn war, get the hell out of there, or just accept the fact that it was stupid and you lost. But, Trump's still out there. Oh, Iran's begging us for a deal. Yeah, you said that 50 times now. They're not begging us for a deal. We're getting our asses handed to us because you keep doing the same stupid shit and expecting a different result. We're not going to get a different result unless we do something different. We came over there. It wasn't a winnable war. Anybody who said that it was lying. And, now we're stuck there, and we either can lose, which strengthens Iran, and makes everything worse, or we can turn them into a bead of glass, which that isn't going to go well on a global scale, or we can send thousands of our troops to die in Iran over a war that nobody wants. Right now, it looks like they're just trying to extend this war long enough to get past the midterm so that they can commit us to it for another 2 years. It's absurd. This is not okay, but this is what we're doing. So we've got that happening. Hormuz is just going south. Maine, First Circuit Court of Appeals. So the First Circuit Court of Appeals has a ruling, and it's a bad ruling. It's a terrible ruling. They have essentially, so there's a school in Maine, and the school says, hey, we're not going to deal with any of this gender nonsense, right? We were the gay thing. It's a religious school. It's a Christian school. They said, we're not okay with the gay thing. They say they're actually not okay with any marriage outside or sex outside of marriage. They say that marriage is between one man and one woman. They say that they're not okay with any of the gay stuff, and they're not okay with any of the transgender stuff. So basically, if any of that's happening, you're not welcome at that school. And there's no question that that is their right to have that school, right? The question is, does that make them ineligible for a state tuition assistance program for the people that want to go to that school, for the kids that want to go there? And the First Circuit has said no. They do not have to have access to the tuition assistance program. Now, the nuance of this case is important. It's a bad case because I view that as discriminatory, right? That really is in every way, shape, or form discriminatory. I don't know how else to say it. Ultimately, let me show you guys this. This where is this? Right here. This is the 42 USC 200 BB-1, and this is the freedom of this is the free exercise of religion, right? Now we have the First Amendment. But in 2000, I think it was 2003, we passed the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, RFRA, Religious Freedom Restoration Act. That's this law. Now, the key part of this law that I want to focus on is this. Government shall not substantially burden a person's exercise of religion, even if the burden results from a rule of general applicability, except as provided in Section B. Now, this is very, very important. This law, the First Amendment, is already pretty profound and pretty broad. This law said that Congress is ordering the courts to review anything that might substantially burden a person's exercise of religion under what's called strict scrutiny. They say only if the burden to the person is in furtherance of a compelling governmental interest and is the least restrictive means of furthering that compelling governmental interest. Now, this is very important because what the Religious Freedom Restoration Act did was it very broadly protected free religious rights. Now, it goes on to say a person whose religious exercise has been burdened in violation of this section may assert a violation as a claim or defense in a judicial proceeding and obtain appropriate relief against the government. Standing to assert a claim or defense under this section shall be governed by the rules of standing rules of standing apply, but anything that could substantially burden a person's exercise of religion can only be done if it's reviewed under strict scrutiny. Now let's go. Let me go to, where is this? Here it is. This is the First Circuit's opinion. The First Circuit, and I'm going to skip over a lot of this. I'm not going to go into every detail, but the First Circuit basically said that Maine doesn't have to offer the same tuition assistance to a school that is violating these anti-discrimination rules, right? So Maine has some rules. Let's see if I can find this in here. We got to scroll up. We got a ways to go in this. Well, let's see if we can find this. Yeah. So Maine basically has several exceptions to this, but basically says they require all applicants, employees to conform to religious tenets, a religious expression rule. They go on. The fourth is really important: sexual orientation and gender identity non-discrimination rule, right? So that's where we run into trouble. Basically, the court has said and tried to distinguish between funding and free exercise, right? So they're trying to thread a needle. The court wants there to be funding for students who wants them to be able to restrict funding for schools that aren't allowing, gays or gender fluidity or that sort of stuff. Now, as I said, this is really important under the law. The free exercise clause allows for free exercise and the First Amendment in totality, because you have free speech implications along with free exercise. The question is, should strict scrutiny apply? Because the court reviewed this and they did not apply strict scrutiny here. They did not. Under a strict scrutiny standard, it's very, very unlikely that this would happen. But the question is, does state funding, when applied in a generally neutral way, even if it's a generally applicable, does that substantially burden a person's religion, practice of religion? And here's the deal. My analysis is this. This school is a religious school. People who want to send their kids to a religious school for a religious education are practicing, they're exercising their freedom of religion, right? This makes sense. So if they want to restrict access, and you have a law of general applicability, right? Because that is what this law is. Their law is generally applicable. No question that Maine's law is generally applicable. But does that burden a person's ability to send their child to this school? And the answer is quite clear to me. If the government's got a funding program and they're discriminating against this school because this school, based on its religious tenets, disagrees with certain sexual orientation, sexual nonsense, and so the state says, well, then we're not going to fund it. Of course, then that is a burden. And the question is this then a compelling government interest, and is this the least restrictive means of furthering that compelling government interest? And I don't see how that's possible to get any other, because under strict scrutiny, then you say, well, no, it's not. Because you could, if you don't want your kid to be experiencing this, they can go to a public school. There's a million schools they can go to. But limiting the funding, which should go wherever you want it to go, is an absolute burden on the expression of religion. There's no question about that. I don't see how the First Circuit gets to this outside of the fact that they were just seeking this. This is another instance where the court is seeking an outcome. It believes an outcome. And if you look at the reasoning in here, the court really blows it. I'm not going to go through. We don't have time tonight to go through everything in this case. But essentially, the thing that I would say to you guys is the state has a law of general applicability, which provides funding for students to go to schools. It's fine they want to prevent discrimination, do certain things like that. But when it comes to religion and the expression of religion, well, that is, per the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, very broadly under strict scrutiny. The court can't say we don't want to apply strict scrutiny here because we just don't like it. There's no way to thread that needle, honestly. This is without a doubt something that is, in my opinion, something that should be subject to strict scrutiny. I disagree with the court's ruling here in a profound way. They do mental gymnastics to try and do this, right? They even go so far as to note in the ruling itself that because they do an evaluation of the First Amendment in terms of free speech, right? And this is a very, very important thing because they say, quote, this is a quote from the ruling, Crosspoint has failed to convince us that the sexual orientation and gender identity non-discrimination rule should receive strict scrutiny as content or viewpoint-based regulation of speech. Well, we know it should receive strict scrutiny in terms of religious expression. And if you're limiting a parent's ability to spend that money that they've made generally publicly available to send their kids to somewhere as an expression of their faith, how is that not something? How is that okay? How is that any different? They're saying that they don't think strict scrutiny should apply on free speech, but then they're trying to pretend that it shouldn't apply to the expression of faith. This doesn't make sense, folks. The ruling doesn't make sense. It's a very poor ruling, and I hope this goes to the Supreme Court. I think the Supreme Court, if this gets there, if the Supreme Court looks at this, I think there's a very good chance that the Supreme Court will clarify and shut this down. And they should. They should, because there was a previous case, St. Dominic, and for procedural reasons, I don't think that made it to the Supreme Court. But it was procedurally distinct. They both asked a similar question, but procedurally there were some distinctions that made so the SCOTUS probably isn't going to take it. In this case, though, this was a final ruling. It was a final this, final that, everything there. It's final. So this should be eligible to go to the Supreme Court. It looks like their lawyers were probably very smart and trying to get this in front of the Supreme Court. And I think that it's really interesting that the First Circuit noted that they don't think it should receive strict scrutiny under the First Amendment of the Free Speech Clause, which, that we would presume then that they agree that under free speech, if it was receiving strict scrutiny, that it would fail. The question is, would it fail under strict scrutiny for the free exercise? And I would say that it should. It should, and I should fail under that, because at the end of the day, that money, the money is to send your kids to school. Well, if I want to send my kids to a school that expresses my religious beliefs, it should absolutely be mine. And if you limit that, that's infringing on my free exercise clause. I mean, this is manifest to me. So again, a very bad ruling in the First Circuit. Let's hope that goes to the Supreme Court, because to be real honest, we don't need this nonsense. If you don't want your kids in a place where they're going to be exposed to this gender nonsense and this pro-gay agenda and all these different things, why should you have to send your kids there? Why should you have to? All right. I want to get into these flock cameras, right? I've been talking about them, but it came back up again today. Let me show you why. So Florida, the red state of Florida, Ron DeSantis, Florida, the reddest state, Cape Coral, Florida. Now, just in case y'all think you're safe because you live in Florida, let me show you this. Cape Coral leaders are proposing AI cameras on trash trucks to scan homes and yards for code violations, high grass, unpermitted renovations, and so on and so forth. Then they can issue the fines, take people to court. So what this is the equivalent to the speed cameras, right? So nobody likes the red light cameras. In fact, a lot of states have banned, a lot of places have banned them because everybody hates the red light cameras. Well, now we've moved on to flock cameras. And because flock cameras aren't enough, Cape Coral wants to put cameras on their dump trucks to scan your home. I mean, really, seriously, right? So if you think about this, what is this? These dump trucks are going to scan your home. They're going to use AI. And like they said in the tweet, maybe they've got a regulation that says you got to keep your grass mowed. So your grass isn't mowed. Maybe you're on vacation for 2 weeks, your grass getting a little long. Well, this is just a money grab by the city. This is just Cape Coral looking for money. Oh, your grass too long. Violation. They send you the thing. You get a ticket, you pay for it. That's the end of that. You decide, God forbid, to do some work on your own home without going through their permitting and nonsense. In a lot of places in this country, you can buy your home, but if you want to work on your home, you have to get a permit to do anything you want to do. Some places you can't even, you can't change your wiring, you can't change your electrical, you can't change it. If you want to knock out a wall, if you want to do any home renovation or remodeling, you're supposed to get a permit. And if you don't, you could actually technically be fined for that. Well, Cape Coral knows that a lot of people say, well, piss on you. If I want to work on my house, I'm going to work on my house. So now they want to put the cameras on the dump trucks just to make sure that you aren't violating these absurd rules. Folks, I predict that this will backfire in a profound way. First of all, I don't know if it'll go through because it's pretty viral right now, and a lot of people are looking at it, and it should be viral because it's insane. It's absolutely insane. People aren't going to like this. It's not going to resonate. So they're looking at this, and this is what's happening, right? This is scope creep. They keep going farther and farther with this track and trace because that's Agenda 2030. We talked about at the beginning of the show. We talked about it throughout the show. This is Agenda 2030. They will track and trace everything that you do. Everything will be monitored. Bill Gates wants cameras everywhere. They're building out cameras that are going to cover every square inch of this planet. And they want to track and trace everything. They're going to have AI. That way they can watch everything you do. They can just send you a ticket in the mail, and that's the end of it. And guess what? It's all perfectly legal. I would argue it's wildly unconstitutional. But the courts, through a long series of bad rulings, have essentially said it doesn't matter. They can do this. So we're now at a point you've got flock cameras that are being put out there by a third party, right? It's not by the government. It's by a private party. And so the police have access to them, right? The police are looking at these flock cameras, and they're using them. And they're violating our Fourth Amendment rights in every way, shape, and form conceivable. Our founding fathers had a revolution because of a T-tax and taxation without representation. They wanted things to happen. Things weren't happening. And they knew it was wrong. They said, well, there's no representation here because, we the colonists are not happy with the Stamp Act. We're not happy with the T-tax. We're not happy with this, not happy with that. The colonists, they were furious because there was no representation. Nobody wanted what was happening, but yet the government kept doing it. At some point, the people became so frustrated that they revolted, and we had a revolution against the most powerful empire in history, the British Empire at the time. Since then, we've become the most powerful empire in history. But at the time, the British Empire was. And so a group of guys with pitchforks and muskets fought back and beat the British Empire. What's going to happen if we keep going this way? What's going to happen in this country? I mean, nobody wants flock cameras. Nobody wants track and trace. Everybody wants privacy. Nobody likes the corruption that we're having. 90% of people think that Big Pharma has too much influence and they're corrupt. So we keep doing it. When you ignore the will of people on issues where 90% of them believe that it's wrong, at some point it becomes manifest to we the people that you're living in a nation with no representation, no taxation without representation. We are pushing the people and pushing the people and pushing the people. And, how far does it go before people say, I've had enough? We've seen this over and over again. Now, on the left, they revolt all the time. And they revolt over nonsensical reasons, right? The left gets its people whipped up into a frenzy over things like George Floyd, which was fraud. But what happens when a majority gets upset? What happens when the real Americans get upset? What happens when the right says, I've had enough? It's one thing when you've got some Antifa lunatics. It's another thing when the mainstream of America starts saying, I've had enough. How much has to happen before this happens? This is happening under Donald Trump, who we elected to drain the swamp. This is happening under the Republicans. At some point, it becomes manifestly obvious that neither the right nor the left actually cares about the will of the people. I'm not calling for violence. I'm not calling for revolution. I'm calling to stop it. I'm concerned. What's going to happen if we keep going? I don't want violence. I don't want anarchy. I don't want chaos. I want a good, stable country, the one that I grew up in. I want a country where I can live and live freely. And if I want to send my kids to religious school, I can. If I want to send my kids to school where they're going to shove perversion down their throats, well, I guess you can do that too. I just want freedom, right? I want to be able to live my life without government intrusion. I don't want my house scanned. I don't want it. I don't want a flock camera spying on me. I saw today they have a flock camera posted right outside of a gun store. I wonder why. I'm sure they're not using that in any way, shape, or form nefariously. I mean, I don't want this. Neither does anybody else. We, the people, have been very clear. We don't want tracked and traced. We don't want spied on. We don't want any of this stuff to happen. We just want to be able to live our lives peacefully and with freedom. But instead of peace, instead of freedom, instead of anything good happening, we have this just constant onslaught of government overreach and corruption happening over and over again because we have no representatives. We have no representatives in our government. We have taxation without representation again, just like we did before the Revolutionary War. I am very concerned about the direction we're going. And I'm going to tell you, as a guy who fought so hard to get Donald Trump elected, as a guy who has fought so hard for the whole principles behind Make America Great Again and Make America Healthy Again, you know, I travel around this country. I work with people all over the place, and people are waking up on a very, very broad scale. The people who watch the politics can see what's happening, and they can see it isn't going the right way. Things are not going the way we want them to. We don't want this. The things we fought for, the freedoms we fought for, the Make America Great Again, gone. You know, I've talked about the flock cameras, right? And, you know, I posted this, and I think I may have talked about this the other day, but, you know, the flock camera is supposed to keep us safe. Well, look at, this is Ballville, Ohio, right here. Show you the picture. You can't miss it. Big flock camera. Does this look like a high crime area? You see this? Does this look like a high crime area? Nothing. Nothing. I'm not even a damn sidewalk because there's no people. They're just tracking people. That's all it is. You want to, again, here, this is the crime rates for Ballville. I know I showed you guys this. Nothing. Why are they tracking Ballville, Ohio? And I said this because this is true, because we also had this. This post, 18 years in prison for destroying 3 flock cameras and replacing them with American civil peace flags. This guy got 18 years in jail. And I said, hey, the Epstein class rapes children. There's no consequences. A regular American doesn't like the digital prison, goes after flock cameras. 18 years. 18 years for destroying flock cameras. But the Epstein class, they can rape children, and that's okay. Is this a two-tiered standard of justice? Am I missing something? Why is it that the elites can rape children and no one does anything? But if you destroy a flock camera, which nobody in America wants, you go to jail for 18 years. Can anybody explain how that's reasonable to me? If you can rape a child and no one comes after you, if you can be an Epstein child rapist and no one comes after you, but our same federal government that looks the other way on child rape decides to go after you and put you in jail for 18 years because you're unhappy with being spied on, we have a problem. It is something that is not going to sit well. We, the people, are not going to tolerate. At some point, it's just going to be too much. And, you know, I've talked about this in the past, but, you know, these flock cameras, all this stuff, this is just mind blowing how bad this is, right? People don't understand how bad this is. But in terms of by the way, do you know who owns Flock? You know who owns Flock? One of the major investors in there is Founders Fund. Founders Fund, right? Do you know who owns Founders Fund? Peter Thiel. Do you know what else Peter Thiel owns? Palantir. Do you know what Palantir does? They're the group that's putting in the AI system that's running our government. So they're going to take all these flock cameras, all this data, all this stuff. This is all going to be fed to our federal government. 100%. This is the total information awareness program that Thiel and Palantir tried to pitch through the CIA a number of years ago, and Congress shut down and said no. They've just repackaged it, and they're doing the same thing. Is this what you want? Are we okay with this? This is not just a little bit off, it's appalling, right? I mean, let's think about what this does. Hey, Democrats, are you guys okay with someone having a camera that tracks you when you're killing your baby in an abortion clinic? Is that okay? Are you all right with that? Hey, Democrats, when you guys are out doing your George Floyd protests, guess what? That's all going to be on flock camera now. So you guys okay with that? When you guys are delivering the bricks, when George Soros is delivering the bricks for the peaceful protesters to throw at cops, guess what? That's going to be on a flock camera now. Democrats, you okay with that? Here's the problem, though. Hey, Republicans, are you okay with the flock cameras taking your picture, identifying you, and telling everybody when you go to the gun store, the shooting range? Are you okay with that? Are you okay if you protest outside an abortion clinic, have these flock cameras put you on a list, domestic terror list? Are you okay with that? It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican. These flock cameras, all of this track and trace, all of this stuff is an overreach on a profound level. And nobody wins with it. It's nobody. It's awful what's happening there. There is no freedom. And we're just continuing to destroy everything that America stands for. That's just all there is to it. All right, guys. I appreciate you all. I appreciate everything. We got a lot more on this. We've just got to keep telling the truth and make people aware of what's going on. So please help us share, like, comment, get involved with the show, follow us on social media, follow us everywhere. Listen, sharing, liking, and commenting is a huge deal, folks. It's a huge deal. It helps the show gets views. It helps get it out there. Makes a big difference. The algorithm, we're suppressed anyway, so we need your help. So please, givesendgo.com/RenzLaw, TomRenz.com. Don't forget to support us. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back very soon.